They gave us the formula for the surface area, and they are asking to find the surface area in terms of pi. So it's 2 pi times the radius squared. The radius is going to be 10. So 2 pi 10 squared. 10 squared is 100 times 2, 200 pi. And then 2 pi RH. 2 pi, the radius is 10 and height is 20. So we're going to get 200 to 400 pi, so 600 pi. And then here, your composite functions from advanced algebra. We want f of g, so we want to stick g inside of f. So you take g, put it inside of f for the x, so it's 4 times function g plus 1. So distribute, you get 4x squared minus 8 plus 1, 4x squared minus 7. Oh, this one was a little bit tricky. Your goal is to find average. Average, you know, is add everything up and divide by how many you have. We have 43 matches, and we want the number of goals per match. Goals per match. So there's 43 matches. What I need to do is figure out the total number of points and goals. So what this is showing me is there's 4 games where I had 0 points, 10 games where I had 1 point. So that's 10 points there, 10 goals. 5 games where there were 2 goals, so that's another 10 points added up. 9 games had 3, so that's 27 points. And you just keep multiplying here to get the total number of points. Add these up, divide by 43, and you'll get 2.8. Okay, A and B are parallel. Which of the following is the set of all angles that must be supplementary to angle X? So all linear pairs, so x and 1, x and 2. The corresponding ones are going to be congruent, so you need the ones that are in the other spot. So the ones that are equal to 1 and 2 would be 9 and 10, and then nothing down here. So just 1, 2, 9, and 10. Here, it's an exponent rule. We did this the first day we talked about stuff. ACT review. So we're going to distribute the 3 in here. This is 3 to the first. So I'm going to have 3 cubed and then x to the 9th. And 3 cubed is 27. So 27x to the 9th. They're just checking to see if you know whether to multiply or add exponents here. Here's solving simple algebra. I subtracted 8x. I added 8 divided by the negative 4. When you divide by a negative, you got to flip the inequality sign, and I got f. This one I did purely by estimating a 90 degrees clockwise turn. You're supposed to remember the shortcut for that, and I don't. I just estimated because I think it's quicker. And I can see the closest thing to this. It's definitely down in quadrant 4, which is a positive negative. The only one here that's positive negative is this one. And again, I could even count that out. 5, negative 1 is pretty much what I got. So do the estimating there. Okay, what is the sine ratio for angle M? So I stand on M. They did not give me the opposite side, so you had to find that with Pythagorean theorem. So it was 12 squared equals x squared plus 10 squared. Found that to be square root of 44, and now the sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So there might be multiple steps here. 39. Let's see, BD bisects angle ABE. And BE bisects angle CBD. What is the measure? So all 3 of these were equal. So I took 180 divided by 3. So that gave me the 60. Here I want average number of hydrogen molecules per cubic centimeter. So I took this number and divided by this number. And when you divide, you do 8 divided by 4. You divide your whole numbers. And then you subtract exponents when you're dividing. So 12 minus 4 gives me the 8. This is law of cosines, and they're giving you the formula here. And if you look, all of these angles are different. All I've got to do is figure out my angle, and I'll have it. So what they're telling me is from the north all the way around to this line is 300, and from the north over to this line is 170. So for me to get the angle inside my triangle, I'm just going to go 300 minus 170, and I get 130 degrees. So now if this is what I'm calling C, it's a squared plus b squared minus 2 times a times b times the cosine of the angle C. The angle that's across from me is the 130, and that's this one here. You can see everything was the same all the way through here except for the angle. You had to be able to figure out the angle inside the triangle you were working with, ABC. So what rational number is halfway between 1/5 and 1/3? Your calculator will do this very, very easily. Just type it in, 1/5 plus 1/3, get an answer, divide by 2, and use your answer turn it into a fraction. It'll kick that out. That's about a 5-second problem for you. Okay, number 43. I went over this one in class, but there's a couple different ways to do it. Isosceles trapezoid. They're giving me this angle here is 25, and over here is 35. So I know this bottom one is also 25 because of the isosceles triangle. This is nice. Right in here is isosceles. So this angle is given, if I add them together, 35 plus 25. I've got a 25, and then you can see I made a triangle here. This is my goal. So now it's the 180 trick with this angle, and this angle. So 180 minus the 25 minus this one's 60. 44. I did this one with you also. They're giving me the area of this inside square is 18, and it's a square, so I said a times a is a squared equals 18. Found out a was 3 square root of 2. Then I did b times b, or for b squared equals 50, right here, and got b equals 5 square root of 2. So the whole side is 5 square root of 2. This piece is 3 square root of 2. If I subtract them, I get the x. So 5 square root of 2 minus 3 square roots of 2 leaves me with 2 square roots of 2. A rational number, remember, a rational number is a fraction. It can be turned into a fraction. So it's a decimal that either repeats or ends. And the only one of these that simplifies, remember I told you, any square root that doesn't simplify is irrational. And the one that does simplify is this one, because the square root of 64 is an 8, and the square root of 49 is a 7. This one would go to 1/5, but it's still the square root of 1/5, because you can reduce the fraction, but that doesn't help you either. None of these simplify out, so still have a square root in the answer. This one I did with a numerical example. If you're struggling, just start with a numerical example. I would say like 2 is smaller than 3. So I'll let a equal 2 and b equal a 3. So if I let a equal 2, 2 plus, so 2 minus 3 is a -1. The absolute value of -1 is 1. So I get 1 with my numerical example. So I want another example that comes out equal to 1. Well, 2 plus 3 is 5. 2 plus 3 is 5. The opposite of that's -5. 2 minus 3 is a -1. Square root of a -1 is imaginary. 2 minus 3 is -1. This better be it. It's the only one left. 2 minus 3 is -1. The opposite of that's 1. So just start with a numerical example, see what you get here, and then run through all of them. Okay, number 47. Tom has taken 5 of the 8 equally weighted tests in his U.S. history class, and he has an average of 78 on these 5 tests. How many points does he need to earn on the 6th test to make an average score equal to 80? So I need to average 6 tests together. Well, because they told me his average here, I just called each test a 78. Because if I average 5 78s, that's going to give me a 78 average. So 78 plus 78 plus 78 plus 78 plus 78. There's his first 5 tests. Plus the 6th one, I don't know. When I divide by 6, I want to get 80. Now it's algebra. Multiply by 6, add all these together, subtract, and you'll get a 90 is what he needs. Okay, don't let the word modulus bother you. All you're going to do is take your A and your B values, and the modulus just tells you to square the A, square the B, add them square root. So it says, what's going to have the greatest modulus? Well, if you look at this, you're squaring and adding You want the biggest numbers possible. So you want the point that's the farthest away from the origin because it has the biggest x and the biggest y value. And this is your one that's the farthest away, so it's going to have the biggest numbers to put in here. Okay, this one, in order to solve this with the x up here, a couple things you could do. What they're getting you to do is rewrite both of these as the same base. So I called the 8 2 cubed and kept the 2x plus 1. I called the 4 2 squared and then kept the 1 minus x. Now I can distribute this 3, multiply exponents together and distribute. So I get 2 to the 6x plus 3 equals 2 to the 2x minus 2. Now that they have the same base, the exponents have to equal each other. So it becomes 6x minus 3 equals 2x minus 2, and then the algebra. Okay, 50 was challenging. We never went over even and odd functions in trig. An even function has a vertical line of symmetry. An odd function has a 180-degree rotational symmetry, which means you can flip it up and it still looks, flip it around 180 degrees and it still looks the same. This one does not. So, but it does have a vertical line of symmetry, which makes it an even function. So it's even. 51. Oh, this is the only one I could not get the answer. But all I did was start writing down the numbers. I started at 100. I went through 100 to 109. That's all 10 of them have a 0, at least 1 0. Then I did 110 through 119, only one of them, and I just kept going through all the way up to the 900s, and I got, I don't know, I came up something close to this. I didn't write it all down here, but I came up with something big, and I knew the bottom number had to be 900, but I was well over 90, so I knew it had to be this one. So that was the only way I could do that one was to kind of start writing them out as quickly as I could to look for a pattern. Okay, here's an equation, negative 2x plus y equals 1. They are angles A and B formed are congruent. What is the slope of R? Well, the slope of the line they are giving me, if I put this in standard form, is y equals 2x plus 1. So to keep the angle equal on the other side, it's going to have the same slope but going in the opposite direction, so it's going to just have an opposite slope of negative 2. So instead of going up 2 over 1, we're going up to left 1. So F. This one, kind of like the chapter we just got done doing, work your way from the inside out. We are looking for a cosine ratio. That's adjacent over hypotenuse, but I don't know which angle I'm standing at. So what I've got to do, the inside is going to, remember the inverse gives us a function. So if I stand at an angle, the tangent's going to be A over B. So am I over here and the tangent's A over B? Or am I over here and the tangent is A over B? Well, I'm over here. It's opposite over adjacent. So I've got to be standing here for this inverse tangent to work out. Now I want the cosine of that angle. So cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So it's D. Okay, 54. The area of a circle is pi r squared, and the radius you can see is 52, so pi times 52 squared. Equation of the circle centered at the origin, remember it's x squared plus y squared equals the radius squared. That's advanced algebra. So that's E. And then 56, it says that the other radio station is 100 miles down the road. So here's 52 miles, so I've got to go another 48 miles. Here I am at 100 miles down the road. So from here to here is 48. But the radius of this one is 60 miles. So I've got to go back 60 miles. And the question is, for how many miles along the highway can the radio signals of both stations be received? So that's this little part in here.